Hi, welcome to this YouTube video. Today I'm redesigning a couple of sweets themed characters that I designed when I was 13. I'll go ahead and show you the original drawings. Okay, here are the two characters. On the left is Macaron Girl and on the right is Chocolate Girl. Yes, that's what I named them, and to be honest, I don't think I want to change that. That's kind of fun, What they're themed after is pretty unmistakable. Okay, so looking at these previous designs, they're not ugly or anything, they're fine, but they also don't really scream like, oh, we're themed after sweets. Which is kind of a problem because that's the whole point of their existence. In my redesigns, I'm definitely trying to lean more into that and make sure that it's clear what they're based on. Another thing that I wanted to do with these redesigns is to make sure that the characters were still recognizable as themselves. So it would be like an evolution of this already existing character rather than like a brand new character based on this same idea. Looking at Chocolate's old design, I think it's the better of the two, but it's still not great. There's not really much of the chocolate theming coming through at all. You can only really tell because of the piece of chocolate that you're sitting on in that one drawing, and I guess also like the brown colour has that chocolate association to it, but it's not, there aren't any shapes or patterns that tell me that this is a chocolate themed character, I'm also not too sure why this teal was such a prominent part of the design. It's a cute colour to have in there as an accent, but I think it's just taking up way too much space when it doesn't really make sense for it to. And then with Macaron, that Macaron theme is even less obvious. She kind of just looks like some girl in a beret. I also don't love the colours either. They're quite vivid, and I feel like when I think of macarons, I much more associate them with pastel colours. So yeah, that's definitely something that I will change. But it's not all bad. With chocolate, I think even though I don't get much of the chocolate theme and the colours don't really make sense, it's still cute enough. I like the buttons on the socks, and I think that the hat is really cute. With Macaron, I like that the collar of her dress matches the top of her boots. That is something that I wanted to incorporate in the newer design as well. So yeah, I did do that, and then I also included it in Chocolate's design as well. But with Chocolate, I went for a more boxy shaped collar because I decided to lean into a square shape with Chocolate and a round shape for Macaron, just throughout their designs. And that's just because chocolates are usually square and macarons are usually round. Who would have thought? So smart. For their themes, on top of the sweets, for macaron, I decided to go for a pastry chef character, just because in the old design, for some reason, she's holding a piping bag. So I was just like, okay, let's go with that. So then to go along with that, for Chocolate, I just made her into a butler waitress type character. Just to keep that theming of the duo going. because they are supposed to be a pair. That is how I'm designing them. Okay, so I guess I'll talk about them a bit more individually now. So, chocolate. At first I was thinking like maybe I would use some kind of a schoolgirl, like student type character for her. But then, once I decided on how I was redesigning Macaron, I was like, no, actually, like, this would be a better option, like the butler theme. So, yeah, that's why she's themed this way. I think I already said that. Like I said before, I used a lot of square and boxy shapes in her design. So, the buttons, the earrings, even the shorts are like kind of puffy in a boxy way. The little hat as well, that's much more boxy than it was originally. I also thought about turning it into more of a box of chocolates, but I just liked the verticality of the top hat a bit more. There's also a little bit of a triangle shape going on with the waistcoat area and also the shoes, even the hair, I guess. And that was just because I felt like having those pointy bits kind of helped the flow of the design. I also did keep a little bit of the teal just because I really like that colour and it's kind of cute. I just toned it down a little bit because I don't think it needed to be as prominent as it was in the original. Also, it just helps break up all the brown in the design. The biggest change, I guess, was the pattern on the waistcoat. It's supposed to mimic the shape of a chocolate block, and that was kind of the most important thing to include in this redesign, to actually convey that the character is themed after chocolate. That part was really tedious to draw, but I think it's worth it. Okay, now I'm going to talk about Macaron. So she ended up being way more different from her original design compared to chocolate. Like I said, she's supposed to be a pastry chef, so obviously this top matches that. The hat's also kind of supposed to look like a chef's hat, but it's macaron shaped, so I don't know if it reads like that, but that's why she's wearing a hat. I also did use these very obvious macaron shapes throughout her design. The hat, like I said, also the skirt is a huge macaron. The little platforms on her boots, which I think are super cute. Also, there's a little section of her hair which is tied into a macaron-shaped bun. Yeah, just a lot of macarons. You can't miss it this time. I also tried to keep this design quite round. So stuff like the puffed sleeves and also the scalloped edges, which I used in quite a lot of places, especially in the skirt. And then also her hair, which I put into this updo. I guess kind of like a bubble-y ponytail situation. The colour scheme is also more or less the same as the original, but just more pastel. Okay, now I'm just going to talk a little bit about this illustration that I did for the both of them. I'm only going to talk about it briefly because I'm honestly not very happy with how it turned out. So yeah, basically I just wanted to draw a scene where the two of the characters could interact and exist together. So yeah, I guess this is sort of set in Macaron's bakery cafe thing, with Macaron, making sweets, piping something, macarons I guess, whatever, and chocolate being the waiter. the colour scheme is Macaron's colour scheme because it is her shop. I think those macaron stools are quite cute. But yeah, I definitely don't think that this illustration is my best work at all. I wanted to work on a scene with a background, a proper background again, but I just think that I planned and executed it really poorly. I should have worked on the characters in the background simultaneously instead of finishing the characters first and then basically doing the background. I mean, not exactly, but that's pretty much what I did, and that was like not great. Yeah, so there's a lot that I could say about this, but I don't really want to spend too much time shit talking myself, so yeah, even though I'm not very happy with that illustration, I am happy with the designs that I came up with and the illustrations of those designs. I hope you like them too. I hope you like this video. Thank you for sticking with me till the end. And yeah, that's it.